it's Jen Suzuki, and I'm in the industry. I meet some of the greatest leaders out there, dealer execs, dealers, GMs, and I'm bringing them in the studio to talk to me about what's making their business pop, what's accelerating their growth. I'm sharing my own personal strategies for your sales teams, so I'm ready to get after it. Are you? Welcome back, listeners. I've got a friend and a colleague on with me today. His name is Daniel, and he is a guy who literally started in the car business ground up, has worked his way up through general manager, been sitting in this role for the last 5 years with Mercedes. And let me tell you, he's become a friend of mine because he cares so much about people, building successful teams. He invests in his people, and he's always looking for innovation. And this is another reason why we connect so much. He's always looking to improve and find that next level, not only for himself, but for the team that he is building around him. And today I wanted to bring him in because, you know, a lot of us have been trying to continue the success of the last couple years, and things have changed in the business, and we have to look a little more bigger picture at what we're doing every day and say, all right, you know, are there rooms for improvement? Where are they? What's the easiest ways to level up? And I chose a topic today that is really near and dear to me. I know it is to him too, because if we're focused on building employee retention, we're also going to be focused very much on building client retention. And so welcome, my friend, Daniel.
Thank you. And kudos for using client. I saw you catch yourself there. I appreciate that.
I would hair toss, but my hair's up today.
It's proverbial. I get it. And you're right. Because people throw that around like it's interchangeable. You know, it's like retention and loyalty. It's not the same thing, you know, and it's, I think the industry, we need to start with everything that we're facing. Yeah, I think you're on the right beat. That's the kind of stuff that's our best medicine against it.
Yeah. Well, so that poses the question, you know, what would you say are the differences between the word loyalty and the word retention?
Yeah, I mean, you know, without getting into like dictionaries of it, right? But it's basically, my view is that retention is something that you're trying to prevent from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And loyalty, you know, so that could almost be transactional, right? That's, you know, you have a retaining wall for water, right? It's like you're not really encouraging the water in any way to go one way or the other. It's just a retaining
Mm-hmm.
wall. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're retaining something, yeah, I mean, are you keeping it? But you're actively working on not losing it.
Mm-hmm.
Loyalty would require to be loyal, would mean, if you're loyal, if I'm a loyal client of yours, Jen, then that means that I'm using your service more than twice, you know, continuously, even if it's, you're not the closest, even if you're not the least expensive, even, you know, despite all of those things, right? So it really puts emotion into the category, and then
Mm-hmm.
and you're inspiring a relationship to happen over and over and over again. And that can
Mm-hmm.
withstand a lot, because that's an emotional relationship. It's a decision that's made emotionally, right? And emotion beats out logic pretty much every minute of every day.
I hear
So
you.
I'd rather try and not lose something, and rather
Yeah.
win, you know, a continuous ongoing relationship with somebody.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's more of a deep emotional connection with people when it comes to loyalty. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's a feeling. It's also I am connected to people in a much more um, meaningful way. Whereas I think with retention, a lot of times, you know, we're just looking at keeping customers, and it's more like actions, and maybe we're strategizing within a company to keep people, and it feels a little more business. It feels a little more transaction.
Yeah. Like, do you ever describe somebody as, I mean, if you describe somebody as a loyal person, right? Everybody understands what that means. It's a very top tier
Yes,
compliment. You ever
that's right.
describe somebody, that's a very retentionable person.
That's a retainable person.
That's a highly retainable person, right? And you know, that
Yeah.
doesn't say anything about the quality of character. It just means, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? It just means they don't know how to get lost, right? It's like,
Yeah.
they're confined. So, you know, you think about how you use it in other words, but what it does is, so it's not just semantics. We're not just playing word games. So like, what do you
Hmm.
do? So if your goal, so if, you know, and this matches a lot of what you see in OEM scorecards, right? We're talking, you know, it's not as much just CSI in some cases, in a lot of cases. It's about loyalty, what the propensity, what the likelihood of a client is to come back to you to do business more than
Hmm.
once. And I think, and in the industry too, it's, it's, you can have on the sale, obviously it's a little bit harder in service, but on the sales side of things, you absolutely can and should be maintaining loyalty with clients. As long as you're meeting your sales effectiveness locally, you should absolutely be
Mhm.
able to maintain clients wherever they are. If your client moves away, that doesn't mean
Mhm.
that's not your client anymore, because he's loyal to you.
Yeah,
So you'll be able to continue to do business with them wherever they're at.
love this. Yes. And we really should be seeing it that way too, because it doesn't mean that, yeah, people won't go the distance for you. They feel loyal to you.
Right. And what is it that
We see it all the time.
they're loyal to? So if you can think of the things, what is it that so what do I do to encourage loyalty, or
Mhm,
how do I,
mhm,
on what battleground do I fight for loyalty?
mhm, mhm.
Then that'll also put you into a different category, right? Because, it's no, if you look at, Tesla would be a great example just because of how many cars they sell. I don't know how much loyalty, like what there could be loyalty. I'm sure there is loyalty, right? Brand loyalty or whatever it is. But the
Of
question
course.
is what is the consumer loyal to in the example of if they're buying a Tesla, what is the consumer loyal to? And it's less of
Yeah.
a question of who is the consumer loyal to. And
Mhm,
in
mhm.
our world, in franchise dealerships, then you have the ability, and this is true from the technician on up. You've got the ability to form a relationship with your clients so that they're loyal to more than just the brand, or certainly more than. I mean, there's plenty of clients that purchase cars from dealerships, never seen the dealership.
Yeah.
Multiple cars, never have no idea what the dealership looks like. No clue. Don't know
Mhm.
the name on the building. Don't know. Doesn't matter. Right.
Hmm.
And because they're loyal to other things, these other things that you can create loyalty by, they don't always cost money. Right. But
No, it's
it's,
the way
you're
you
trading
treat
it.
people. It's the customer experience. I say it over and over and over again. It's the way that they feel about this positive experience every time they encounter somebody in your store. It is one customer, it's many, many, many touch points,
Right.
right? It's one client and one client experience. And if we can unify where we're bridging gaps between departments and personnel and stuff, and everybody's on the same page, it's culture really about executing a truly excellent customer experience. And that to me is what creates that strong brand identity.
All
It's
those touch points.
memorable, it's unforgettable. It's a thing, people don't talk about price. They don't care about price when they get to that point. That's
Right.
what we're fighting for.
Yeah, because we've got a better relationship, right? It's like I'm not even going to dare to ask. I mean, I'm assuming that
Right.
because of everything
That
else that we're
you're
connected
hooking it
on,
up. You're taking care
I
of
mean,
me.
look, I was a client of yours, right?
Yeah.
Did I ever,
Mhm.
right? Did I ever ask you? I think you were already flying here and you're like, "You want to know what it costs?" And I'm like, "I mean, you'll send an invoice, I guess, right?" Like that's no, I mean, not everybody's going to be as big of a laydown as I am, but there's
No, I am.
where can you
Trust me.
where can you find that you can do, and that's really how you insulate yourself from market conditions and things that come in and
Mhm,
come and go that can compress
mhm.
margins or compress dealerships. And you said every touch
Yeah.
point. One of the things I liked about Mercedes when I looked up truly, how they define what client loyalty is and what client satisfaction is, really what they're saying,
Mm,
what they do say is it's every touch point with the dealership throughout the entire life cycle of ownership. That's a big
mm.
ask, right? So
That
then,
is.
yeah, are your valets, do your valets have a CSI bonus? But more importantly, do you explain to them
Oof.
how they can control CSI? Because if you just go to a valet, you go to a lot tech and say, hey, you get a CSI bonus, it's like
Mhm,
sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. I don't know what what the thing, right? But it's like, no, because one of the greatest things that you can do, I mean, and I know this sounds silly, but one of the greatest things you can do is when a client pulls into the service drive, that smile, despite whatever the weather is outside, whatever's happening outside, that smile, that joke, that
mhm,
laugh, when you open the door
mhm,
for them, that quick interaction,
mhm,
those 15
mhm,
seconds that you
mhm,
do with the client from the time they come into the service drive to the
mhm.
time the client enters the building, that 20, 30 seconds that you spend with them is probably the most impactful thing that we could do to set up our success after that. So then, yeah, that's why I'm paying you guys on CSI.
We're
And
hearting that.
so, it's
I
like,
mean, look, I gotta tell you, that is such a targeted moment for anybody that's listening. I mean, I go after this all the time. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many times a person has visited your business, they're coming back there because of the way they feel. So you got to keep that momentum. You can't keep changing that. They can't be like, oh, it's irregular around here. That's going to lose all momentum. But
mhm,
if you think about that greeting, you think about that first impression, and this is why I'm always saying, know your customer before they come in. If you have an appointment, why are you not knowing something about them and saying it in their face? Let them know. I care enough to be like, yo, Daniel, welcome back, man. I saw
right.
you on the roster last night. I was like, let me get his favorite drink up here. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, okay, that's a
And
feel.
And that's, and then that we continue into that too, because it's that the authenticity. I think authentic was just named like the word of the year. And
Oh,
but it, and the authenticity in that, in that interaction, that's like, if you just want, one of my things that it was like one of those little things that we get stuck in our head. When we're just saying, like, did we offer them something to drink? Yeah. What'd you say? Said, you want anything to drink? What'd they say? Said no. All right, I could have told you how that conversation was going to go, right? But if this
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, if this was your college buddy, if this was your army buddy coming over to your house, right, and you're treating them as such, that type of a guest, that level of
yes,
respect for them,
yeah,
right? It's not, can I get you something to drink, right? It's
yeah.
like, Jen, is this a cappuccino kind of a day, right? Or do you just want some chilled water? Do we want,
Yeah,
what is it that I've got a glass here for you. What am I getting you to drink? And that's it. That doesn't require anything else other than just something else, other than like, do you want something to drink, or like water's over there.
yeah.
Manufacturers come in and audit your facility to make sure that you have drinks. That's
Mm,
it. If I just want to have a check mark, do I have something liquid that somebody can drink? Then yes, but did I use that to help somebody feel better about being here?
mhm,
That's an
mhm,
entirely different question.
mhm. Yeah, these are good actions to correlate with loyalty because these aren't like just run of the mill motions that people would take when you're like, we got to retain customers, and you got to call these people, you got to just check in with them. It's more than that. This is like about remembering things about people. This is about thinking about people the way that you think about your good friends. The people in your family you like.
And
Make
we
them
and
over.
we hate the check-ins, don't we? Like that's
I'm gonna kill
what's that?
myself if I hear check in, touch base, follow up one more time.
No, you don't do that. There's a high likelihood you're going to hear it, and I don't want that to happen to you. But I mean, that is something.
It's such a no, but it's like such a waste of time. Basically, what you're saying to me, someone that you would say is like someone I could trust and count
Mhm.
on, is like, oh, you actually kind of don't matter because I'm just checking in, just touching
Right.
base. Yeah,
People that you
that's such a
actually have.
meaningless word.
It totally is. It's people that
I'm
you
calling for
actually
a
have.
reason. I care. Like, let me use some facts on you so like I'm actually interested in having a real conversation, not just like, oh, going
Yeah.
through the motions. Yeah,
If you called me and were just
there's
like,
a difference.
"Hey, just checking in," I'd be like, "What is wrong with
Oh
you?
shit. Here we
What?"
go. Yeah.
People that and you have a relationship with, you're not calling them to check in, right?
No.
You know what I mean? There's good communication there, but it's never just some type of general, because I don't know
Yeah.
what to say. And,
Yeah,
and
no,
that was
because you know stuff about people, so you start asking about them. Yeah, hey, how's work? How's and I mean, be specific. Last time we talked, you were busy. You got your calendar full. You seeing all these clients. Everything good still? Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
and did you get this? What's going on with that? Right. Did your daughter was, learning how to snowboard the last time, right? Is she doing, is she doing moguls yet? Is she in terrain? Knowing your
Mm-hmm.
kids, I'm sure they are, but I'm just saying, like, that's, not me necessarily. I mean, but I'll go with the tree planted
Yes.
in my forehead already. But that's the check-in. We hated the check-in so much. It's why we started looking at at what our follow-up process is,
Okay.
or was, or that nonsense.
Well, let's dial into that, because I love your specifics and your examples because I think that when people listen to this too, it should provoke thoughts about even just evaluating what you're currently doing and how you see customers. Are they just people? Are they dollars? Or are these people that we can connect with and build community with?
I'd really rather they be
Hmm.
clients, right? It's like lawyers have clients,
Hmm.
wealth managers have clients,
Hmm.
McDonald's would say billions of customers served, right? So it's like,
There you go.
it's not just that, right? I mean, it's like, I
Yeah.
almost feel like, the lowest, kind of like the very the very average, you're a customer, right? Like, that's,
Hmm.
and I don't, if somebody would call me like a customer, "Oh, there's a customer over there," it's like, that just doesn't feel great. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, a lot, what if I'm a several time customer? Does that make me just a repeat customer? Or like, what do I have to do before I'm Daniel and before I'm a good client of yours?
Yeah.
Like, well, how
Well,
hard do I
first
have
off,
to work for that?
I mean, you gotta care. You gotta care enough. I mean, this has been the foundation of my career, this moment right here. Every time that customer comes back, you don't remember them? How can that be? You don't care. You didn't look them up in the system? You didn't
Where
find out where you
where do
left
they work?
off? Yeah, you
Where
didn't
do they
dig
work?
for it?
Right.
Don't
It
call me after
right.
I bought 3 cars from you and you don't and we're gonna reset every time.
Exactly. That shouldn't be the case. If you're already a client, then yeah. So if we get a lead, right, we want to
Mhm.
start out from
There we go.
let's start from the best. This is a client. There's a
Yeah.
potential here for a client. Let's no judgment, no biases, no pre-thinking, no preconceived notions. This is Jen. She's interested in this car, right? And I'm interested in seeing, can I just be the car guy for Jen and all of her friends and her family? And I know that's a lot. You're like, well, you're going to approach an internet lead thinking like all of that. Yeah. Yeah. Think of it as great as it could possibly be, and then go from there. Right. And if then you don't get engagement from the client on the first, within that first time period, because I think that's one of the biggest things that's going to hurt salespeople. We have salespeople that have come into the industry during the last few years. We know that's a different reality. And we know what the problems were even before COVID, and it's not the lead that you got today that's the problem. I shouldn't have to worry about the lead that you got today. What's bothering the lead that you got today, what's bothering you with that are the 170 other leads that are still in your name that the CRM is still firing tasks for you to follow up with. And you don't know and I don't blame you. You don't know what to say.
Mhm.
And I think, and actually, I don't know if you can bleep this out if I'm not allowed, but lot pop is really what helped me understand the age of a lead and what
Mhm.
have we done with the age of the lead versus the age of the inventory, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like my inventory is aging this whole time, not just the lead. One of the questions that Jason asked me and was, if you have a lead that's 45 days old, do you know how many times that lead's going to be contacted on the 45th day? So
Mhm.
I can look that up. He goes, okay, if you have a car that's 45 days old, how do you know how many times are leads on that car going to be contacted? Because
Mhm.
that could be more than one person. I said, I have no idea. So when I
Mm.
started delving into the process, and then it's when I got you on the phone, and I think what we spelled out to say that let your salespeople, when they have the energy, that burst
Mhm.
of energy to deal with the fresh lead,
Hit
let
them
them
at the
come in.
beginning.
Yeah, let them come in right in the morning.
Mhm.
Make sure that, I would say have a manager, make sure there's no dupes, right? Or no Fred Flintstones and things like that are in there.
Mhm.
And then let the salespeople attack it completely fresh with when they're excited about it. And then, and the other thing that you told me that was absolutely true that I consistently preach now too is, it's like, let's not be in the conversation about, are you doing video? Right. Most of us have been doing video for 5, 6, 7, 8 years in our case. Okay. But the
Mhm.
video itself, that first video, no more than 90
Mhm.
seconds at the very most. And
Mhm.
it's like, and you hit me over the head with this, like it doesn't need to be more than 25 seconds of the car.
Agreed. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be about the car. To be quite frank, a lot of people will change their minds and make concessions. What we
Right.
don't want them to change their mind is about your character, about the way you made them feel in every communication that you had with them, whether it was a text or it was a phone call or whatever. It was a voicemail you left. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's
Have
about
you chosen?
them starting to feel like, okay, like I got somebody here in my court that's going to fight for me.
Yeah. Because if this car is located somewhere else, you know what I mean? Like, but there's not a me that's there. There's not a
That's it.
store that's there, or there's not, there's not the other things that people get to see in
Mhm.
the insight in the video.
Mhm.
If all they're seeing is just another if everyone's sending them 10 walkarounds on cars, right? It's like, and no one's going to be like that. I mean, there are good walkarounds, don't get me wrong, but it's like to fit a walkaround in 90 seconds, it's usually not the greatest. So, like, making sure
No,
this is the car you submit a lead on, but now let me show you something else that sets me apart from
that's
all
what
the
needs to
other
happen.
videos that you're getting.
Yeah.
Now you're really capturing somebody's attention in a lot better way. And it's like, there's a great interview with the uh, this corporate staff at Nordstrom that Mercedes did as part of like some training videos they did. And one of the things that they talked to one of their sales associates, and she was like, "Look, you can get socks anywhere.
Mhm.
And she's like, why would you come here to buy socks from me?" And she's ringing out like as she's the customer's like her client is standing right there. She's like, why would you come here to get socks? You don't even have to go anywhere. You could just order it, right? But there's a reason that you would come here to do that. And I get
Mhm.
it, cars, not socks, right? But the same thing very much holds true. The higher the value the asset, people know that you're
Mhm.
actually taking care of them, and people can get a better insight into your process and your dealership. And then,
Mm.
and then everyone wants to argue about like it's not a lost lead, and you call them until you die or they die, and we get morbid in the car business real fast on a lot of stuff, right? It's like
Facts.
dying. They asked about a Grand Cherokee, who's dying, like right, like it's like they
Yeah.
have to die before you stop calling them, and it's like that's more investment in their life than I want to be frank, right? So it's like, why do I have to do that? No, they don't have to be lost. But
No.
that's where our tools that we have that are in the stages of adapting, that's where the new tools should be helping us, right? I don't think
Mhm.
if you're a salesperson and a lead hasn't responded to you in 2 weeks and you followed the process,
Mhm.
And you validated this for me. Like, get it out of your name,
Yeah.
and let AI or
AI
whatever other
AI
follow-up
take over.
mechanism. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that
Yeah. Frankly, I mean, if we're going to talk a little bit of, our pathways to purchase here, I'm going to say, look, you know, I like what you said. If you're in the mentality of of retention versus loyalty, and you're really focused on loyal customers and the differences, you understand, and you come in and you're excited and you're seeing this much bigger picture, that this is going to be somebody that builds my career. This is going to be somebody that I'm going to stay connected with, somebody I'm going to care about. This is somebody I'm going to sell cars to their family. This is somebody I'm going to be friends with. I'm going in with the right mentality. It's not just like lead, call, leave message. You know what I mean? I'm going to look them up. I'm going to try to find some stuff on them. I'm going to try to connect with the people. I'm going to have a great first impression, and I'm going to go hard. And frankly, I say this, you say 2 weeks, I say 3 days. And maybe Jason at La Pop or anybody else that's over there monitoring data out there, has data to share. But for me, this is, I think 3 days, if they don't respond back to you, they said it sent in an internet lead, they don't respond back to you in 3 days. To me, I feel like they're not an in-market buyer. They're getting bombarded by a lot of
yep,
people. I get it. Stay in there. I gotta hit them up with a video. I gotta hit them up with a couple phone calls in the first day. I'm definitely leaving messages, maybe send a text message. I'm doing it again tomorrow. I'm doing it again on the third day. I might give them a little break here and there for a couple days, but some people will still stay steady. In any event, I want to go full throttle early on. And for me, if they don't get back to me, there's so much technology out there now that why not call a friend? AI, pop in, let's go. Because there is some good tech out there that can nudge, 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 and they do get responses back. I get a response back, boom, I'm back in the game. My
right.
human is back in the game, doing
Re-engage.
things that AI could never do. And we do need to be mindful that, the technology exists today. We need to use our humans for what they are best at. You're never going to get AI to make the call that you could make. And let's face it, that's
Mhm.
really going to be our strong suit at connecting with people. And we need
And
to have, readjust the messaging that goes out
yep.
so that it is more, loyalty based.
Yeah, and think about that. Like
Templates are
that.
lame.
Think about a process like that. The best processes are things that are going to enhance it both for your team members, both for the associates, and for your
Yeah.
clients. Right.
Yeah.
And so that absolutely would do it, because if I'm a salesperson and I'm at a dealership that understands, like, I just want to make sure those first 3 days, I just want to make sure you're doing everything exactly. I mean, as much as you
Yeah.
can. And
Everything.
if you're not,
Go all in.
and if you're not getting anything back from that person here, it's going to stay in your name, right? Jen, it's still your client,
Sure.
okay? But
Yes.
the dealership's got other ways of making sure that we continue to try and re-engage that client. And that's
Yeah.
not you. That's not your forte, right? So I want you, you're more important to me dealing with, you're more important to me when I can engage you with an absolute fresh lead, and
Mhm.
you're fresh, just have all your energy and you're not worried about all these tasks piling up. And by the way,
Yes.
this was different for me too, because I was raised in the environment of tasks. I was raised, you get paged
Go,
into
go,
GM's
go,
office.
go. Wear them
Yeah, they
out.
hand you a business card. This is how many tasks you have, right? And
Buy or
it's like,
die.
yeah, 117 tasks. How many of these are buyers, right? And it's like all
Okay,
of them.
here's
And
the thing. You're gonna kill people. I mean, we have a lot of single moms in BDC roles, and I can tell you, as a mom of three, I'm raising three girls. Let me tell you, it is a lot of work. So what? I'm gonna get up early in the morning, put my do the whole kid thing, right? Go to work and then just grind it out with no, 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 nobody answers. All these people that are not in market. I'm gonna go hard. And I'm gonna go home to the bratty kids. Like, this
and
is
you're
a tough life. This is a hard job.
because you
We
love
are
doing
going
everything more
to
than once.
exploit human capital.
Exploiting human capital in the best possible way, right? Yeah, that's, those are the things, the tools that we have, the tools that made us successful. It's not to say that we
Mhm.
don't add in new tools. It's not to say that we don't AI is a team member. AI is on the team. AI
That's
needs
it.
supervision, right? Just
Yes.
like any other team member. It's not a manager, right? AI
It's not
doesn't, in our case.
perfect.
Exactly. But we let our
Yeah,
people, because when
right.
our people aren't perfect, it's actually when they're human,
Mm,
and like
love
that's,
that.
AI is not human and it's not perfect. So
Agreed.
then,
And if you're not watching those messages, you're gonna miss out on opportunities. I see it happen every single day. Yeah, it's good technology, but look, it's better. It's a more consistent and it is more efficient. And it's not gonna like create head trauma for our most important assets, the people that are your front line that are representing your multi-million dollar brand and everything that you're trying to do right.
and we're
But it's
not
gonna make mistakes. It's not gonna catch things. You gotta watch the messages.
Yeah, we're not anti AI. We're just saying, like, that can't be, I think the pitch of a lot of AI is like, let AI weed through, and see who's real and who's not and stuff like that. And it's like, no, I'd like AI to just wait until I tell
Yes.
it, this person, I'm not getting a hold of them, but I can see they are reading my messages.
Yeah, man.
So I can't get a hold of them. So I need, that's when the robot comes in and does it, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just like, how would the Jetsons do it, right? So, did the Foodoraka cycle make dinner every night, or when there was a special occasion, did they make their own? I don't know, but I'm saying like that's, we're still a ways away from the Foodoraka cycle, but you get my point there.
I do. So I don't. I was just feeling like you uncovered a stone. I don't. I want to keep it covered. Some of the stuff that we talked about in the same conversation was about the messaging that's going out, and a lot of dealerships are real template heavy still. I can't believe people are dependent on templates at this point. I mean, this is so crazy. Like you and me, we're gonna get a template, and we're gonna be like, hell yeah, let's do this thing. Like. No, people are so savvy. Nobody likes a spam. And because over 50% of our emails are spam, it's so easy to hit the delete button. So if we
Yeah.
are going to take the time, to message people with our humans, our best assets going out there and contacting, make a good contact. I like templates for the ease of it. Okay. But some of these templates, they need to be redesigned so it looks a little bit more human. With
Well, why
AI,
is it hard?
ChatGPT out there, we can actually craft a better message and put a few things in there from your hunt to find out some personal things and pop them in as subject lines. So it's for you. I need to know it's for you in that subject line. It can't be like, oh, 2024 Chevy Tahoe, or hey, thanks for your internet inquiry from ABC Motors. Like, what are
Right.
you like living in the 90s?
Yeah, but see, that's if it's hard, if you're saying like we're using templates because it's the ease of it, then that means you're stretching out the process for too long for a human to do it. If you feel like you need a template to do it, so I'm not disagreeing at day 15, to a randomly responsive customer or not responsive customer, use a template, then use AI.
Yeah.
There's the good equation. If it's something that's too hard for you to fit, and as salespeople, as dealerships and salespeople, like let's believe in our people, right? Like let's say that there's a
Yes.
minimum requirement as a salesperson, and you don't have to take internet leads, but we think that that's probably something that you should do as a salesperson. And if you take internet leads, I'm going to need you to be able to do your best to just knock their socks off, until they're engaging with you. And then if they're not, then I don't need you to worry about it. But that's what I need you to do. And I don't
Yeah.
need you to worry about anything else. Like we'll take care of it, but that's the minimum level. So if I have salespeople that
Mhm.
can't answer internet leads, okay, it's not an alienable right. And maybe you don't want. There's still
Yes.
also salespeople, by the way, that don't want internet leads. Okay, I'm not. There's just like you've got people out there that actually
Agreed.
still don't want to buy a car via submitting a lead.
Mhm.
Actually, it's probably a lot of people that don't want to buy a car by having to submit a lead, and I'm okay with that. I'm probably one of them.
Yeah.
So let's
Well, a
make
lot of
sure
the
that
people that submit leads are looking for a price that we're trying to, hold hostage.
that too, right? I mean,
Mm.
it's there shouldn't be, those things, the things that we make difficult. This is what's kind of funny. The things that we make difficult in the process for no good apparent reason other than, it's been that way or what if and this and that. The things that we make difficult in our process, other companies come across from different sectors like tech or whatever, and they look at that and they go like, yeah, that's silly. We'll just do that, right? And then they get
Yeah.
called disruptors, and they're not really
Mm.
disruptors. They're just interrupting ourselves from interrupting ourselves. I mean, that's it, really.
Mm.
I mean, and then we just get envious. And there's a difference between, and then we call them an enemy. No, it's
Mm.
envy. There's a difference between envy and an enemy, right? I'm envious of the fact that I can log on to Tesla's website on my phone, and I can build a car, and it'll tell me when I'm going to
Mhm.
get my car, and it'll give me the payment to the dollar with taxes for lease, finance, and cash, and that I can
Mm.
say, yeah, I want that, take my deposit
Mm.
via Apple Pay, and then it's
Mhm.
ordered, right? Like I'm
Mm.
envious, and I'm not saying that that's the experience that everybody wants. I'm not saying that that's what everybody has to do, but I'm envious of the fact that they can tell me when that they put right there, your car will be here, be delivered in December. I'm envious of the
Mhm.
fact they can tell me what the payment will be right then and there.
Mhm.
Like those are the things that at some point, and I'm not saying that if it's in your process and you're very successful with it, and your people at your dealership and your clients love you for it because you don't do it that way, obviously fine, right? But
Yeah.
recognize there's not a one shot approach for everybody. Not everybody wants that either, right?
Mhm.
So we do have to be. But the thing is like we do have to understand they're not two different things, and I think that's what's changing. It's not
Mhm.
just that I'm the way that I just described, right? Being able to order the car on your phone. It's I have that ability too, and I know how to work it. But I also have an experience center. You might call it a dealership, but I have this place where you can come and experience us and the brand and the
Yes,
service that you'll get afterwards. Because who are we kidding? Everybody wants to know what service is like after they buy a car. So those,
totally.
but let's have those two things, and let's make sure that we're good in both of them, so that we can
Hmm.
get whoever it works for.
Hmm. Yeah, and kind of tying that back to some of that messaging, there is value in a dealership, in a facility, in the people, the experience, the things that we can provide people. And
100%.
a lot of times we don't talk enough about what we do for people. I'll give you a quick example. In those follow-up emails, you're burning people out with those templates. I'm just checking in, touch a base. Hey, are you still in the market? Are you still in the market? Like, stop it. They're not in market, okay? We've already identified they did not respond to you in 3 days. So, okay, let's switch up the messaging. Instead of being like sales, 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 where we burn the people out and they want to unsubscribe and never talk to them again because they're out of market. They're not out of market. They're just starting. They need to hear things about your store. They need to hear things about your team. They need to hear things about your facility changes, that you've done to your service department to make it more accessible and easy for people. They need to hear about the complimentary maintenance that was added, this past year. They need to hear about the display screen, widening and the new features that were once optional, now standard. They need to hear about the evolution and the things that we're doing to stay relevant and above and cutting edge and all of these things that we don't tell people. And not to mention how great our people are, that we promoted internally. This person just got promoted. This person's a real person. They got a family. They're in this community, this, district. I mean, there's just so many things that we can do to share the wonderful things about the people that make up this business instead of being salesy, salesy, salesy. Help me make a right choice. Show me the information that's going to
Mhm.
help me make the right choice. And now if we switch up our messaging to be more brand building instead of sale on the wrong this is customers clearly not responding back to you. They don't want to hear all that. Okay, switch it up. It's time to
Right.
change.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the changing, the being able to adapt. Like I'll say, I mean, there's an equity mining program that many of us use, right? And each month it's going to send you great offers based on the car that's in the system. And
Mm,
99% of the time, not an exact statistic, 99% of the time it's sending you, like, let's say right now you've got a Cayenne, it's sending you information on upgrading your Cayenne to the next Cayenne. And it's
yeah.
never saying like, well, maybe she's ready for a 911.
No, they're
Maybe
just going to tell
maybe it's
you about all the changes.
maybe it's Panamera time, right? Like nobody or whatever. It's like nobody. All you have to do is go into the system and just one time say like, all right, let me work a deal on this other type of a car. I'm just using this as an example and saying that like you do have to. If you're not getting responses to it, then what does it cost
Switch
you
the
really?
car up. I love it.
Just change the car. Just change. If you don't,
Love
what
it.
was the Don Draper setting? He's saying, if you don't like
So true.
the conversation at the table, then just reset the table or something. He said it a lot better. It sounded better. He's Don Draper, but yeah, I mean, those are if you're calling, if you're trying to communicate with people the same way and it's not working, if you're afraid of the
Yeah.
phone, if you're afraid of text, if you don't communicate on social media, okay, but that's you're costing yourself an opportunity to reach them. And if you're always talking to somebody in the same, salespeople, a lot of times, managers too, we set ourselves like hours in the day, and it's like, okay, so from 10 to 11:30, I'm making all my calls. Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you're only getting like 1% connection rate during that time, like maybe
Switch
you
it
need to
up.
think that yeah, maybe your people at home weren't saying like, well, from 10 to 11:30, I'm going to wait for the dealership to call me. And
Yeah.
and what and the what you should ultimately aim for, what I would ultimately want is when after you visited us, that the conversation when you go home and your friends or your spouse says, how was today? It's not just I went to the dealership, I got the pricing on the car. I would like that.
Yeah.
It would like it to take much more than that in a good way for you to describe
Yeah,
with
I
a
want them to
smile
say,
on
"Hey,
your
I
face.
want you to talk to this person."
Right. Yeah, it was great. It
Yeah.
was hilarious, right? They had a
Yeah.
llama there. I don't know what it was doing, but it was great. But it's just let it be something that was out of the ordinary in a good way. And let that
I love
if
this.
that conversation when you go home, if that conversation lasts more than 5 minutes, I think we'll see you
Mm.
again.
Mm. Great way to end our time together. I would tell you, I knew this was gonna be a great episode, but I didn't realize it was gonna be this great. Dropping all sorts of knowledge bombs on here all over the place. I mean, we went through a lot today, and I love your passion. I love your, examples, your specifics, your conversation. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. No, and you're somebody that right. We met during NADA during the COVID era. You were in a
Yes.
different studio then, right?
Yep.
And you
Yep.
were our instructor there. And I said, this is a person. And I gave you a lot of guff when you came on,
You did.
right? because they were
Yeah.
like, it's all about appointments. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. And I challenged you on that. And you were like, I didn't say
Yeah.
it was all about appointments. But anyway, and then from that point on, I was like, you're somebody that I need to help me through this business and be more successful. And so I'm very thankful for our relationship.
Oh, thanks for saying that. No, I know you feel that way. You're really good at expressing, which I always appreciate because you got your cards right out there, and I always push people would just be more like that. So it makes it easier to have friendships and real friendships with people like this. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, go ahead and get out of here and go make somebody else better.
Okay, you too.
All right. Thanks.
All right. If you like these episodes and my sales game techniques, you should snatch up our latest dealer education program I'm hosting. It's called Jen's Remote Classes, and it's a 1-hour, once-a-week class with me alongside other dealerships all pursuing the same end game to achieve top 10% status in your dealership. For more info, hit me up. All my contact info's in the show notes. I want to hear from you. And follow Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki right now to get notified when episodes like this one drop. This is Jen on the podcast Dealer Talk with Jen Suzuki. See ya!